Hello, what's up? I'm Donnie Crash from the Bone Crate. Welcome to Unknown for the Most Likely. I have a special guest. Godnoisegod. No, no, his name is Erik, and I'm a little stoned right now. Let's try that all again. Okay, hi, I'm Donnie Crashbones. Welcome to Unknown for the Most Likely. I'm known for Bone Crate and I do beats and I do my noise. Today we have our special guest, Godnoisegod. He is here. And man, I am sorry to be so inconvenient today so far so long. It's been kind of a weird day, but yeah, as you guys did hear the announcements and recently, we have absurd noise, absurd reality coming to be on IG with the podcast for Unknown for the Most Likely, and Tom Wilson will be talking about films and whatnot, and so on and so forth, and we'll be having many other special guests. So, right, let's go. Hello.
There he is. What's up, homie?
What's going on?
Another day in the life, man. How you
Yeah,
doing?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's just started snowing recently and shit. What about
Oh,
you?
no, no snow here. Fuck that shit. It's just rain.
You guys are lucky. You guys are definitely lucky. Well, it's definitely a pleasure to finally meet you face to face. We've
Brother.
been talking through message, and I've been really happy that we met and through the interest of wrestling too, and finding that out and love noise too.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, you hit me up about the noise comp for doing wrestling, and I was immediately like, I'm on board, dude. Let's do it.
Yeah, like with the day and age of wrestling today, it's been really crazy. It's been out of control. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's more than just WWE like actually doing good. It reminds me of like when WCW actually had a chance back in the day.
AEW is kind of up and down with like the
Yeah.
talent and stuff, for sure, for sure. Well, I would love to definitely talk about your love for noise and also like the name Godnoisegod, man. Like,
Yeah.
where where did that love start of listening to hanatarash?
Uh, I first got into noise from a band called The Chariot. They're a metalcore band, but they utilize a lot of like feedback and they didn't master any of their tracks. It was all one take type stuff. And so I always had this thought of like it'd be cool to start something like noise with breakdowns. And then I never did that, but I always had that in my head, like that'd be fucking awesome. And so just one day I was scouring through, I think it was YouTube or the archive.com or .org or whatever it is, but the name hanatarash came up and then the word bulldozer came up. So I immediately looked into what that was about. And from there, I listened to hanatarash 3 all the way through probably 6 or 7 times. And from there is where I splintered actually into the noise wall was from them. But when it first started, yeah, hanatarash was the first because hearing someone use a fucking bulldozer like as an instrument or whatever, and like seeing them just throw glass on stage
Love
and
it.
you know what I mean? Like it's pure, it's emotion, it's raw.
Oh,
It's like there's no
oh.
thinking about it. So um and so when I
I showed it at a party once, and my friends were like not even like we're all listening to rave music. My friends listen to rave music. I bring up drinking a little bit, bring up Hannah Trash, and so my friends are like, "The fuck is this guy on?" I was like, I
yeah.
don't know, just expressing his, you know, uh, just expressing himself.
Yeah, and it's good. Well, the way I look at it is like I've got a lot of violent thoughts in my head, and I can't just, go out and hurt people. I can't just go out and kill people. So with noise, it's nice to get on stage and be able to do whatever I want, and my themes can be whatever I want them to be, which is one of the main reasons why when I chose the name, it had to be something to do with Hanatarash. And Godnoisegod was always my favorite track. It's the first one on Hanatarash 3. And when I chose it, I said, I'm going to make the word God lowercase because I don't believe in God and I'm super anti-Christian, but I'm going to make the word noise in all capital because that's what's important is the noise. And so that's where the stylization came from. But like I said, when I decided I'm going to make noise, I'm going to do this, that was the very first place I looked was a hanatarash reference. And it was either that or I think the other one I was going to go with is 9 is 6. It's another track that's on Hanatarash 3. But like I said, that first track, I even actually, I hate to admit it, but I kind of bit off of that track a little in one of my Thorns tracks with my old project Thorns. Uh, there's a little part I kind of bit off of. You'll just have to go listen to it. But yeah, I hate to admit it because like I said, it was kind of a blatant bite, but it's just, I love them so much. And if I ever got to meet Yamatake, I'd be fangirling so hard. I'll admit it. I'd be like, I just want to touch you. Just
Well,
touch
he's
your hair.
still active too. Like, it's just like insane that he's still doing music. I
Yeah.
love it too.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Um, yeah. With with the like the topic of noise right now. With other stuff other than Japanese noise, is there other artists that really brought your attention at all growing up, or anything that is a or maybe cliche harsh noise nowadays because there's just a bunch of memes coming out
Right.
and we yeah.
Um, Nowadays, really, because I do so much wall stuff, because wall is my favorite, regardless of what anyone ever says about noise wall. A lot of early Rita stuff, Thousands of Dead Gods, Sea Lake Lurker, things like that. I really got deep into those. Anything Vomir ever does, obviously, but um, I think it was really what really decided where I wanted to do Wall and like one of the big albums for me, it's Walls of War by Bashir Jamal, which is Mac Chammy from God is War. That's his like one of his first projects was called Bashir Jamal. And
Okay.
it was one of the first like kind of dynamic walls I'd heard where it's still kind of static, but it's got these changes and builds and it falls off and breaks. And I just remember being like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like that's it right there. So I always say my favorite wall album is Walls of War by Bashir Jamal. And then also the Deathbed comp, Death Unmasked, because it's got Vamir, Rat Face, Flesh Liquor, two Richard Ramirez projects. I can't remember who else is on it, but man, that was another one. And watching the VHS, like just seeing that noise wall could be more than just the static sound. Like you can do so much with it. So
Yeah.
a lot of those dudes, anything Richard Ramirez does, a lot of things too. Like even bands like fuck, what's their fucking name? The Black Keys. They're a duo and they're more popular, but like they've got songs where they use guitar solos that are just feedback. And I'm like, that's cool to me. That's awesome. It's different. You don't always hear that. So I've always had an affinity for stuff that's not just experimental, but stuff that you don't always hear in normal stuff. What we would call like conventional music.
Yeah. I mean, we were all listening to normal stuff when we grew up, and like
Yeah.
somehow we had a knack for like really just cringy stuff to others, but beautiful to us.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. And
it's
I
yeah,
grew up listening to like classic rock, like from the 70s and 80s. And my mom and I, because it was just her and I growing up, we used to play this game where she'd say, "Who sings this?" And I'd guess and get it right or wrong. And I mean, we did that. We still do that to this day because she wants to keep testing my music knowledge and I want to keep building it because music is about the closest thing to a religion that I've got. So I grew up listening to stuff from all over the place. So when people were like, "What kind of music do you like?" I'm just like, "Yeah, music. It's all cool to me." There are some songs I can listen to and say, "I don't like this song," but I have a hard time saying anything really sucks just because of how subjective music really is. Like nothing really sucks. It's just not my personal preference. But there's artistry to it. There's passion behind it. Someone did this and wanted someone to hear it, like that doesn't suck. It's just not my style.
so
That's what
before so before listening to harsh noise, where did you find like hearing feedback and other like bands and such, and like what was like what made you like feel like you wanted to dig deeper?
Well, a lot of sludge, like doom sludgy bands down from like New Orleans and shit like that, like the band I Hate God, uh, they are full of feedback. I mean, just they start their whole sets with literally 10-minute feedback sets. And I'm like, that, like I said, that type of shit is cool to me. So once I learned that people actually do that in a rhythmic sense and actually do that as like a career or for a hobby or play shows, doing noise like that, and that's where I was like, okay, I can do something with this. I've played in metal bands, I've played in hardcore bands, I played in a country cover band. I love playing music, but when I decided to do noise, I was like, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this by myself, so I don't have to answer to no one except myself because while being in a band can be fun, being in a band can fucking suck too. So,
Oh, I've had that part happen to me with like living here. Like the scene has definitely grown, but we have no harsh noise in Saskatchewan.
I'm very fortunate to have the small scene that I do around the Kansas City area. I've met some really good people. There's some lots of good venues that host noise shows. There's a new DIY venue that just opened up, like it's called the Flesh Pit. There's so much cool shit around that I didn't know about. So I'm very thankful for the small scene that I have. Even though we don't get a whole lot of big shows and big acts coming through, like I feel like we should more, but I'm thankful for what we got here. Because I knew when I started doing it, I was like, I'm gonna play live, even if I have to travel, outside of my state. I'm gonna play live. I have to. And I hooked up with my buddy Thomas. He's in a band called Tenant. He's got a noise project called Aramon. He also runs Skunt Productions, who is out of Kansas City. He puts on shows. So, like I said, it's the little things.
I just listened to Tenant, and I think that's like just brilliant grind. Like,
I mean,
holy fucking
they're like kick
shit.
you in the nuts type of stuff. I love all those dudes. I love them. They're good guys too.
Like out of a group of friends like I have that listen, we all listen to all different types of music, and then there's me like I'll put on noise and people just like most of my friends look at me weird, like people like this stuff, and it's and like some people like say, oh, it's okay. There's some actually rhythm behind some interesting artists out there who do use it. But some of us, we just like pure static and just disgusting distortion and
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, whenever people bring that type of stuff up, it's like, how do you listen to that? It's just the same thing over and over. And I'm like, well, think about your favorite car. Do you like the way the engine sounds? Well, yeah, it sounds cool. Like, think of it like that. You like the way the engine sounds. I just like the way the engine sounds for an hour straight. Plus, the cool thing is, especially if you make noise and you make things like harsh noise wall or, even especially like cut up. I really enjoy cut up noise. I can't make it because I don't have the patience, but if you sit down and listen to it, the different textures and the different lines and the different ways that the sounds correlate, that's what you're looking for. I heard or I read someone that said when they listen to noise wall, when they sit and listen to a long block of it, when it's over with, it's kind of like a snap back to reality. Like you could just kind of wake up like, oh, like it's been an hour, like holy shit. So that's another thing I like. It's meditative. It's easy to fall asleep to. It's just like a white noise machine, but on, 11 or on crack, whatever you want to say. So anytime someone's like, how do you listen to this? I'm like, the same way that anyone listens to music, the same way that anyone listens to a car engine or the way people like the sound of food being made, you enjoy it.
Yeah. I I think what I did a lot of stupid stuff like before I like heard about harsh noise, and I was like 15 or 14 or something, and I was like just getting into necro.
Hmm.
And there was I was borrowing this guitar and I was just like making really stupid sounds. And then I discovered noise rock around like 17. So like Brain Bombs was like a nut one band that really fucking uh really got me into like, noisier stuff and that harsh noise. Like Rambla came along, Shredded Nerve. Um I've wanted to definitely like collect some Rita. It's rare shit to find, but they do keep on making new copies and shit.
Hmm.
So That's really lucky.
Yeah. It's really hard to find first prints, especially when ones that aren't, stupid expensive. That's why I like reissues. I think reissues are great, especially because
Mhm.
you really can't do it without the artist's permission. So if the artist was cool with it, why can't you be cool with it?
Yeah, I think noise is in a really good place. I mean, like, through like some people think it's like when they listen to clipping, and you kind of understand it's mostly hip hop, and not I don't think I don't know who does listen to clipping and goes there for the noise or goes for the hip hop, but
Right.
it's so the topics is like horror films and stuff, and for wrestling, for a wrestling theme, and I think like doing like this wrestling compilation was a great idea. Uh, with being a wrestling fan, do you think it has room for more extreme, musical background and stuff, with even with like um, such as God's Hate
Hmm.
singer having his friend's music playing for in the background.
Yeah. No, I think I've even thought like I don't have a gaming system, but I thought if I did, I'd make a wrestler and add like a noise wall as my theme. Or if I became a wrestler, I'd make my noise entrance or my entrance music like a noise wall or like a some type of noise. Because I do think that not just with wrestling, but like I come from a background of metal, so extreme music is kind of in my blood, and this is just over the top extreme. I think that the thing with noise is you can explore topics that a lot of conventional music doesn't. So, yeah, you might find some wrestling themed bands or some wrestling themed albums, but with noise, like you're actually taking samples from music, you're taking samples from matches, or you're drawing inspiration from the matches that you've watched as a kid. And I've always thought with noise that you can explore themes to a greater extent. And and your interest can be blown up to a greater extent. So if I've got a project I just started, it's a noise bombing project I call it Saiyan because I love Dragon Ball Z. I can just start a project and just, theme it around Dragon Ball Z and have different, clips and different samples and different sources from the show in there and used in the art itself. Whereas, like with conventional music, you could put your album cover and sing about Vegeta, but as when you're saying it out loud, people are like, nerd, which I'm fine with. But you know, with noise, it's I want to say it's a little more subtle, but it's really not because like I've got albums and I've got ideas that are just in your face murder. I've got a project I've started that I haven't released nothing yet. It's the new release is coming soon, but it's a project I've called Goodbye, and it's themed around suicide ideation. It's something that I deal with and something that I think about all the time. So instead of, going out and acting on it, I take those themes and that pain and I put it into noise. I put it into a wall. I put it into a contact mic and a hammer, whatever is around me. And I take
See,
those
it's the
themes.
best way to cope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a way to cope. Yeah, especially with because I know, and I preface all the releases are prefaced with this is dealing with suicide ideation, so please, at your own risk, pay attention. But I know in my mind I'm never going to lose my own life by my own hand, even though I think about it a lot. But I like having noise as an outlet to be able to get those thoughts out and not have to bottle them up anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty heavy, man.
Yeah.
So the love of wrestling. When did you start loving wrestling?
I can
Like
probably definitively say my second grade year in elementary school. Maybe first. It may have been my first grade because my dad. I was watching TV. I was watching Rugrats. I'll never forget this. I was watching Rugrats, and my dad came in and he said, "You want to watch wrestling?" And I was like, "I don't know. I mean, maybe." And I was kind of upset because I didn't want to quit watching my show, but I was like, "All right, turn it on." And he turned on WCW Nitro, and from that point, it was over with. It was done. I was stuck. It was during the Hollywood Hogan era, the Giant, Sting, Lex Luger, all those dudes. And the first time I saw Sting, I was like, that's it. And to this day, he'll always be my favorite wrestler. So it was probably about 97, 98. is when I got into wrestling. And then second, I say second grade because that's when it really blew up. I met a friend of mine in school who also liked wrestling. And at that point, both of us, we both loved Sting. We'd get the magazines. He could draw, so he would draw the wrestlers and things like that. And people would pay him for the picture. They'd pay him a quarter for the drawings. Man, and we would have our own wrestling matches on my backyard with our own video camera. We'd make wrestling belts out of cardboard. Like, yeah. So about 97, 98 is whenever it really, really hit.
I was never allowed to watch it in the house, so I did have to sneak behind the back. And I was a WCW. I started with WCW watching that,
Yeah, me too.
and Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Sting. I was a huge Goldberg fan all the fucking way.
Yeah,
Scott Steiner, he's in the middle. He's fine, whatever.
yeah,
But he's a fucking dickhead, of course.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Uh, so, so with when starting WCW, did you ever like go all the other promotions?
It wasn't really, I didn't really get into WWE until right around when they bought WCW. I had always known about WWE or WWF at the time, but I'd always known about it. I just never really watched it because I liked WCW, the wrestlers that were on there. And like I said, Sting was my favorite wrestler, so I couldn't see him on WWE. But once they acquired WCW, I kind of picked into it more. Um, and I actually watched more ECW than I did WWE at that time because I found it somehow my TV station, I was able to program it in and I started watching their old, like, I don't remember if it was weekly or what it was, but I remember finding it and being like, I've never seen this before. And I wasn't quite as into ECW, even though it was more extreme, but it was only because it wasn't quite as accessible to me. It wasn't until I got older that I was like, yeah, ECW fucking kicked ass.
Yeah, the dying days, I eventually found like, tapes over the years of that shit.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. And then the music they were always using like when I was last week I was talking about with my friend, we were talking about like all that music they had for themes. What like do you have a favorite theme, wrestlers theme?
I liked whenever Sting used Seek and Destroy by Metallica, but I wouldn't say that's my favorite. But man, Sting's theme, the black and white when he did the black and white face paint, and it was like the opera section was cool.
That
Um,
is sick. Like that's I think like with him doing this in AEW, like
yeah,
oh fuck, I love it.
going back to like the Crow theme as they called it, that was his best move. Because in TNA he did the Joker thing and the whole just I'm a wrestler with face paint type thing. Yeah, that wasn't cool. But um, favorite theme, really, man, I don't know. I always loved NWO's theme, the way it was kind of parodied off of a Jimi Hendrix song. Um, a lot of WCW themes were parodies off of like famous songs. Like if you listen to DDP's, it sounds like "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Chris Jericho's old theme sounds like a Pearl Jam song. But I'm just gonna say now, I like Roman Reigns' new theme. If I had to pick one like as my favorite for a current one, his newest one, because it just like the beat is just so sick and it just fits his character so well. And I remember the days of when everyone hated Roman Reigns. Like when he would just get booed out of his gourd every time he opened his mouth. So I'd say Roman Reigns' current theme is probably my favorite right now. Oh, and fuck, now I just forgot. No, Aleister Black's first theme, Root of All Evil, I think it was, with Code Orange and the lead singer of Incendiary. That's another good one too.
Yeah. Excuse me a second.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right. Well, we have some more time left right now. So the Attitude Era, do you have some up and down thoughts about that? what happened and what happens now.
Stone Cold should have never sided with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 17. Uh, he should have faked it. He should have sided with him to win, shaked his hand, kicked him in the gut, and then stunned him at WrestleMania 17. To me, I don't know. Seeing Austin as a heel was always something I was just like, it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Um, but
We
other
do
than
see
that, I feel like the Attitude Era definitely did what it was supposed to do. Like it didn't overstay its welcome. It really kind of, like I said, it really kind of just did what it was supposed to. I really can't explain it besides that, just because if you don't know what it is or if you haven't seen it, you just need to go watch it. It was a different caliber of wrestling, and not even just the TLC matches, because I was a big Hardy Boys fan. So the TLC matches and all that, yeah, those were great. But even like the matches, the storytelling with Austin and The Rock, their matches, anything that has to do with, excuse me, anything that has to do with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and the Hardys and their series of matches is just pure poetry. Um, in comparison to today, with them wanting to appeal to younger crowds and wanting to be more kid friendly, I do understand the need for the PG era, but in the same vein, wrestling was, supposed to be for outsiders to start with. It was supposed to be, raw and gritty, and it needs to get that aspect back, which I kind of think it's moving a little bit in that direction. I really do.
it
AEW is doing
should
a good job, but
it should be highlighted that like so well and like as much as like a lot of underground such as harsh noise shows and stuff like that and how they're set up and stuff. I like how when they do house shows and when they do wrestling shows it's just like so always playing good music for like these
yeah.
people's themes and when they get big they either play the same theme or a different theme. I haven't been to a wrestling show yet, unfortunately. And I would like to definitely change it. Like I definitely lost interest in wrestling for a long time. Uh, CM Punk was a really bad thing.
I think everyone kind of loses interest in wrestling at some point. Like I didn't watch a lot of the fuck, what do they call it? What era was it? The Ruthless Aggression era. I didn't watch really any of that. I didn't pick back up in wrestling until NXT wasn't a game show anymore, and it was like a third brand. And I got into the Wyatt family, which another group that I'm really, really love, always loved, and Bray Wyatt's another wrestler I've always loved. Um, but you were saying about like, house shows and smaller shows. Yeah, indie wrestling promotions and smaller shows. I've been to a few like smaller promotion wrestling shows and they are so much fun. You can interact with the wrestlers more, you can hang out and meet them. Um, I've been to a couple big shows, like I've been to one WWE house show and then I've been to one NXT house show, and they're great. They're a great time, they're a lot of fun, but you go in, you do your thing, and then you leave. At an indie show, you can go in, you can hang out with everyone, meet them before and after the match, talk about wrestling with them, and then you leave. So I've met some wrestlers. I met Becky Lynch once. She was cool. I met Tommy Dreamer, which he's kind of a cocksucker now, but and I mean that in
It
the
looked like
worst. I mean that in the worst way possible. Like I don't mean that as any other way. But
Impact. Everybody's it's a mid company,
yeah, basically, yeah. But it's kind of one of those things. It's like with music. I've met some musicians that I really love, and I'm like, you're an asshole. And then I've met some musicians that no one's ever heard of that, maybe a band that only I know of. I say only I, but like my friend group knows of. And they're the most humble people I've ever met, and they're like, we just do this for fun. It's a job. We like doing it and we do it for us, but it's like with anything, the smaller promotions and the smaller gigs are always going to be where you find the most humble people because it's lonely at the top. And I would rather be down here at the bottom with my friends.
I honestly am kind of shocked about this GCW, and it's fucking beautiful. It's almost not even a mid company. It's almost like the new like I really want to see a GCW versus WWE.
Yeah.
That that would be groundbreaking, and man, I don't know if it will happen because looking at Vince wouldn't even allow it. I don't even know if Paul would.
Well,
It's like weird.
I don't even know. Last I knew, John Moxley was a GCW champion, so I don't know if he still is. But if that's the case, then they wouldn't be able to work with WWE. Which it's funny how much like AEW was working with New Japan, and they were doing so much kick-ass stuff, and then now all of a sudden WWE's peeking their head into New Japan territory, and it's like, no, 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 like, no, come on, that's too much. Like that kind of it's almost like basketball and football, how players just get traded. Like now all of a
Too many
sudden,
forbidden doors.
yeah, like all of a sudden all these doors are getting kicked in, and it was awesome seeing, Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson show up in AEW and Adam Cole show up in AEW, like in Sting. That was awesome. But then they're talking about those same wrestlers that came from New Japan and showed up in AEW, showing up in WWE. It's like it doesn't have the same impact. It's already been done. It's just it gets the name out there. It's like, okay, you're gonna see Roman Reigns versus, I don't know, Okada. It's like that sounds great, but we don't need to see that. We've seen Okada wrestle wrestlers in other promotions. Like I would rather see him wrestle Kenny Omega again, who is in AEW.
AEW is up and down for me, like I said. But Darby Allin being one of the best things right now, man.
I loved that dude whenever I first saw him. I was like that was a cool gimmick. The whole outsider thing I've always been obsessed with. He was a skateboarder, likes punk rock, and then Sting came in and hooked up with him, and of course I was like, easy. I do like I do like AEW. I liked them a lot when they started picking up some kick-ass talent. And now that it's kind of like a haven for old WWE wrestlers, I'm like, well, it's cool still, but not quite as cool.
I wanna see it try to succeed,
Yeah, because
but I
Impact,
don't want it to be like TNA. I don't want it to be like fucking TNA.
yeah. Yeah, I actually liked Impact for a while when it was like TNA Impact, when AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and all them were in it.
AJ's not good.
Yeah, that was some cool shit. That was awesome. And I don't care what anyone says. The six-sided ring is cool because it's different. I like it. But that was another thing. All of a sudden, Sabu started showing up. RVD, Rhino. It's like the Dudley Boys were there. Kevin Nash was there. It's like all of a sudden it's a haven for all these old wrestlers from other companies. I miss Lucha Underground. I liked Lucha Underground. I thought that shit
I
was cool.
seeing that like clips of it, and it's pretty wild stuff. I've always loved to see luchador wrestlers. I always love seeing. Always been a Rey Mysterio fan growing up.
Yeah,
Um,
Lucha Underground was
now,
cool because it was like a soap opera almost. Like it felt like a soap opera mixed with wrestling. Like the cutscenes, like the backstage interviews weren't just like someone with a microphone. It was shot like a TV show. It was fucking cool. I don't care what anybody says. And they had cool wrestlers. They had Rey Mysterio. They had a lot of dudes come in from other companies too. But they had a pretty good roster of their own wrestlers for a long time. Like Ray Phoenix, I'm pretty sure Ray Phoenix was in Lucha Underground for a long time too, if I remember right. But yeah, Lucha Underground was cool.
fuck. Um, I don't know. We should be probably like wrapping up here, but
Yeah, man.
I have one more thing to say. So for so probably for like this next compilation, any um do you have any thoughts about uh what kind of promotions should be, open, be a part of it, and maybe we could possibly even start turning these into tapes?
The
You
next
think
wrestling comp?
yeah, the next wrestling comp we could maybe like, think about looking for somewhere to submit for tapes?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. If we're doing another one, we can definitely get some tapes done, especially because we got so much for the first one. I feel like the second one deserves tapes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm thinking
absolutely.
we I'm thinking we what does this say? We did September this one. So let's see, it's November. Let's say June of next year we'll start. June of next year will kind of be around that area. What do you think?
Yeah, June or May, something like that.
With that, yeah. I think we could get some tapes done for the next one. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about for different promotions. There's been a lot of promotions I've been like looking up, such as CZW, and it's like the first days before, I heard about deathmatch wrestling.
Hmm.
Uh, with what's his name? We have a big GCW fan on the comp. Known, I think he has two tracks, wrestlin.
Hmm.
His artist name is wrestlin, and then Abathicals.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
know that
doing a
dude.
split with him here soon, I hear.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Bathicles. He's actually doing the tapes for my Goodbye project. So yeah, it's hard for me to work with him because he's hard to get a hold of. He doesn't answer his messages very much. I love the dude, but he doesn't. But yeah, him and I are gonna actually we're working on it. We're gonna do a fuck, what do we call it? A self-abuse body comp. So basically all the sounds are gonna come from some form of self-abuse, whether it be, I don't know. I don't want to give anything away, but we're gonna make it hurt. We're gonna do something super painful.
Maybe hurt.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's always to make something, got to make people uncomfortable sometimes to
Yeah.
make them up.
Yep, I think yep, Flesh Liquor, the artist Flesh Liquor, he put a story up that said make harsh noise a threat again. Yep.
It needs. Well, thank you for today, man.
Hey man, no
Absolutely.
problem. It was so much fun. It's good, like you said, it's good to finally meet you and see you face to face and just sit and chit chat and talk. I mean, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys next week. For next week is with Mr. Tom Wilson. All right.
Night Porter.
Y'all have a good day.
Out. Dust in the wall. Love you guys.
Trust in the wall.